For me, as a neurodivergent person, empathy can often feel like a pantomime. I'm doing the right expressions, I'm modulating my tone of voice, I'm doing the right body language to convey my concern and my compassion. And often my emotional reaction is delayed or just not present. I'm just not having that empathic reaction, and I'm having to cognitively tell myself that actually this is a point where you need to be expressing empathy. This person's had something bad happen to them. Try to put yourself in their shoes. Would you be distressed, and would you like some words of comfort? What would you like? And then it's kind of construing this act that will appeal to that person, even if you're not feeling it in the moment. Sometimes you can be delayed. Sometimes it's hard to access those feelings because of alexithymia, which is a common challenge for many neurodivergents. So if I was just to leave that and not actually go through this labor of figuring out how to respond, then I wouldn't respond or respond adequately, and the person would feel like they reached out and I kind of let them down. And that can be the death knell to many relationships if you don't show up for other people. I certainly know as a neurodivergent that I'm prone to doing that, and I've learned to overcompensate and give people what I think they need. Don't always get it right, but I try my best. And for me, maybe because it's of like cognitive rigidity, I kind of expect the same. If I share something that's personal and somebody doesn't respond empathically, then I kind of clam up and withdraw, and I won't probably open up to them again. And if they're a really good friend and they do some version of that, and I give them a second chance and a third chance, and they just don't show up, then I just let go of the relationship, because for me, empathy is really key. Of course, I want to give people grace the same way I would expect grace. And I also acknowledge that some people really struggle with that. And that determines whether somebody will be in my inner circle or not. They'll remain an acquaintance or somebody that I don't make any real effort toward, if that's the limited bandwidth in which they operate. So the other point that I want to raise is I give people my approximation of what I think they need, and it's me recalibrating for often neurotypical brains and what they might expect. As a neurodivergent, make me a cup of tea, leave me alone in my room, and let me recharge on my own. Or there are other gestures like that, but that might be deemed unconventional by neurotypicals. I know a lot of alone time to decompress helps me cope with stuff, and I don't always need company or somebody to talk to. I'm fine. I find that these days I'm somewhere in the middle. I need a mix of both. But many neurodivergents report that they don't have conventional expressions of distress or need conventional expressions of empathy and compassion when they're in distress, because they cope with it in different ways. When I'm operating in interactions with neurotypicals, I'm anticipating what I think they might want because they're neurotypical. Words of affirmation or condolences, a gentle tone. Are you okay? How does that sound? Are you all right? As you can see, I'm doing expressions, and it feels fake, but it usually reads, for the most part, I think, to people as authentic. Is everything okay? I'm so sorry to hear that. That's just horrible. It must really hurt right now. And some version of that conveys to the person that I care. And that didn't come second nature to me. I had to train myself to do this pantomime to address people's distress, because I could see that was what was called for in the situation. And I saw other people doing it and turned to me, and I found that personally helpful. Not everybody's going to find that helpful as a neurodivergent, but I personally find somebody showing a kind and empathic response helps me regulate. Polyvagal theory is a concept that refers to our ability to co-regulate each other, and this tone of voice and certain expressions in body language can convey safety and help people regulate when they're in distress. So I think from a scientific point of view, there is backing as to why that works. But again, when I'm working with neurotypicals, I'm giving them what they might need in terms of regulating themselves or feeling better about the situation. And I can't always get it right, but I think for the most part, people see that as a sincere effort as opposed to no effort, which was my fallback generally. Is like, I wouldn't give much of an effort in terms of expressing something, or I wouldn't know how to respond, or I wouldn't respond fast enough. I'd be delayed in giving that thing. And so now, knee jerk, I just go, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Are you okay? How do you feel about this situation? What's your reaction to it? What's going through your head right now? What are you experiencing in this moment? Trying to wrap my head around what they might be going through, and showing like gentle inquiry to show that I'm interested in knowing what their mind state is and what they're experiencing. Sometimes it's not a question of saying or doing the right thing. It's about genuine, kind curiosity about what somebody's going through, how something might be affecting them. And then, the other stuff is secondary, reassuring them, expressing your condolences. It's more that people want to see that you're willing to try to attune to them in their emotional state. And that's what this is what it boils down to, is attunement. this vital component of human relationships, of us attuning to other people and in turn helping co-regulate us. And that's a skill, and it does require, for many neurodivergents, some degree of pantomime as we learn to mimic what is deemed normal among neurotypicals in these situations. And it can feel very fake and sometimes even deceptive, because what I'm showing isn't what I necessarily feel, because I can't conjure these feelings and they just aren't occurring to me. It doesn't mean that I don't have empathy or compassion. It might mean that I might realize it later on, and feel that empathy. Might be that I might not have had that experience yet, so I don't have a reference point to understand what it is that they might be going through until it's happened to me. And it might be that I haven't necessarily learned the soft skills in terms of like tone and facial expression and body language to convey my empathy yet. It can be any combination of this. Have you experienced that showing empathy can feel like a pantomime for you? Do you struggle sometimes to give the right response when the situation calls for it, to respond in a way that neurotypicals find normative and helpful? Have you gotten yourself into hot water because you've had the wrong response, or your response was too delayed, or you didn't give enough of a response at all? I would love to hear all about your experiences as a neurodivergent.